Good morning, I'm Christine Weber with the Mentor Area Chamber of Commerce, and today we are here with Pam Trivisonno, Pamela Trivisonno, CPA. Good morning, Pam.
Good morning.
So, one thing I do want to make sure I mention is Pam not only is a chamber member, not only was a board member, but Pam was also our 2012 Business Leader of the Year. So we're very proud of you and
Thank
proud
you.
that we could award you with that.
Thank you.
So,
Hopefully I'm living up to its
of course you
to
are,
its,
of course you are.
meaning.
So when I first met you, well, I shouldn't say that because I met you like way long ago. So, but when I first met you in the business sense, you were working for another firm.
Mm-hmm.
And what made you decide that it was time for you to go out on your own?
Family first, as always. I try to live by that here too. I had young children, and my husband had just taken a new position, and that was going to take a lot more of his time away from the house, and I just felt that I needed to let him blossom and let me step back, and so stepping back meant starting my own business, which I know doesn't make sense, but stepping back at that time, I was working out of a home office. My practice was much smaller than it is today, so I was there. My kids got my kids off to school,
Could
but
control
yet
your own hours.
I was, and everything was more controlled in the home environment, and that's what we needed at that time. So it was making a decision that was best for the family. I probably would have never done it. I didn't go into accounting thinking that someday I wanted to be my own, to have my own practice. So never ever would have thought that.
So how long have you been in the business?
Oh gosh.
I mean, you've been a chamber member since 1998, but you had been in a CPA for much longer than that.
CPA for a lot longer because I was working for another local firm here in Mentor. But as far as my own practice, I always go back to how long Steve's been the head coach because it was in line with that. So I think we're at 24 years that I've been in my own practice.
Okay. Yeah, because like I said, I looked it up today, and you did join the chamber in 1998,
Yeah.
so I figured it had to be
Right there.
close
And I was
to there, and you
I
were...
participated in the
Yes.
chamber when I was a member or when I worked for somebody
Yes,
else.
you did.
Because we had our offices were in Euclid, and then we relocated to Mentor, and I was so excited when that happened. And I asked my boss at that point, can I get involved? Because now I'm coming back home to Mentor. So I was actually not personally a member, but active in the chamber under another firm before I became a member myself.
So what made you decide to be a CPA? I mean, especially back... So you started back in 19...
I wanted to be in
something.
We don't want to go. Yeah, I wanted to go.
But I mean, that wasn't a thing for women really to do at the time.
In high school, we had a really wonderful business program. I'm a product of Mentor High School, and back before they made us take so many core courses, there was a great business program at Mentor High School.
I did it as well. So
yeah, so business management, business law, accounting, business machines. I mean, they taught us how to use copiers and calculators, and it sounds silly, but it's important to know that stuff. So I knew out of high school that I wanted to go into business. I thought I wanted to go into business law because we had an amazing business law teacher back then. And then when I got to college and I started taking the business courses, accounting just clicked. And it clicked. Everybody in my class was struggling, and I thought it was so easy. And that's when I kind of knocked on the door and said, this is telling you something. So I changed my major my sophomore year once I got through the basic level accounting classes, and changed it to accounting. And I think at that point too, I started thinking, do I really want 3 more years of law school? And I didn't. I decided I didn't want that.
Right, right.
And I went to Bowling Green, and great business school, great accounting school, and have never questioned what I did. And my mom was a bookkeeper.
I was going to say your mom was a strong role model for you.
Very, very strong. I mean, she was a single mom who wasn't college educated, so struggled to get to the positions that she could take, and worked her way up. And when I was young and in high school, had me using the calculator and doing W-2s and, you know, all this,
Mm-hmm.
the way we did bookkeeping back then without computers.
Right.
So I attribute a lot of why that niche was there in my heart to what she exposed me to as a young person.
Yeah, I remember your mom, and she was a very strong individual.
Yeah.
With a strong, you know, she had that strong, great personality,
Yeah.
and seemed to always push you and your brother along.
Sure.
You know, as the years went by.
Yeah, and she was very, very organized and very, you know, that office manager mentality of I can do everything, you know, within the office environment, whether it be, you know, accounting or personnel or whatever. And so I brought that too. I have a lot of traits in myself of hers.
From her.
Yeah.
That's great. So over the years, I mean, the accounting has changed so much. Like you said, we used 10 key calculators back then. We used different machines.
Mm-hmm.
Now we don't use anything like that. Everything you do is right here on this computer.
Right. And so much more of it is not even on our computers, it's up in the cloud. So we're in that position that we're making that transition. There's accounting offices that are fully paperless. I'm still old school. I like to touch the paper. I like to take notes, and you know, I'm not pulling my computer out and taking notes within the computer. So, but I'm working on that. I'm trying to become less paper, more electronic, more in the cloud, whether it be our tax program or our general communication between office. We're a small office,
Mm-hmm.
so it's really easy to just get up and go talk to somebody. And but that could change someday when you're not sitting at this desk and you need to have those conversations or communications. So we're attempting meeting with our IT company and working on different ways to turn our practice into more efficient and less paper. So I'm fighting it, but
you're
I
doing
know
it.
I got to do it. So I'm struggling.
So like you said, you started out of your home. So back then, how many clients do you think you had approximately?
I was blessed that I came out of my other job with a lot of clients followed me. So I was blessed to be given that opportunity to have them with me and start off with a nice base. I would say I maybe did 100 1040 returns at that point, and maybe 25 business returns, and now I'm, 4, 5, 6, 7 times that. So, but I have a staff.
And you didn't back then, right?
didn't,
It was just
yeah.
all you.
All me. I had a part-time administrative person who came in. My sister-in-law, keep it in the family. She's been with me from day one, just whenever I needed help with administrative things, writing letters, copying returns, that sort of thing. She's been there. And she kind of took a little hiatus in the midst of her having kids, and then she's back with me now 1 or 2 days a week. So
Well, that's nice.
yeah.
So your practice kept growing, and you decided it was time to move out of the house. It was becoming overwhelming there, probably,
It was.
right?
I mean, it's great. I mean, people come to an accountant, so there were a lot of people coming to my home, and I couldn't shut down. There were times when in the summer, I wanted to take a day off, and we had a pool, and the clients would walk around the house and be waving to me at the pool, and I'm like, okay, this is so let's. And the kids got older. They were in 6th, 7th grade. Yeah, they could come home by themselves, and that. So that inspired me to let's go and try to move out of the house. And I would say I would never go back, but that move at that time was perfect. I may go back someday when I don't want to be sitting at a desk all day. So I won't make that comment because I think that might happen someday.
Someday when you're in semi-retirement.
Yeah, when it's a little more less. And again, the whole putting everything in the cloud and being able to communicate with people.
You could really work
from
from almost anywhere now.
You could, and they don't need to know that you're not sitting at your desk doing this job. So as our records become more electronic and our communications become more electronic, so we're working towards that.
So now you said you have somebody out front helping with administration. but then you sort of have a little partner over here on the other side of the swamp.
You know, it's kind of cute. I tried to get her to come in and talk with us, but she wouldn't. Probably about 5 years after maybe about 3 years after I moved out of the home and into a space, I hooked up with Andrea Lagrasso, and she was actually the chamber accountant at that point.
Yes, she was. She worked for another firm.
I was the treasurer of the chamber, and she worked for another firm, and she was the accountant that was assigned to the chamber. And we had met in a store in the middle of tax season, and she's like, "Did you hear I left?" And I was like, "No, I didn't hear that." And we just kind of came together, and I said, I did this, and whatever support I can give you, please call me, because I don't want you to have to go through this by yourself. And about year or so after that, she actually came out of her house and moved into my office. And the interesting thing we talk about all the time with that relationship, and we see a lot of our businesses that we counsel that partner with friends, neighbors, brothers, parents, whatever, and we always kind of cringe because it's very hard to make positive partnerships work. So we've stayed separate. We have separate businesses. We office share. We are always on each other as far as if I'm struggling with something or she's struggling with something, the first person we ask is each other. So it's like we have the benefit of being in partnership together, but our businesses are separate. And I think what that does is it takes that competition out of it, and we are more collaborators instead of competitors. And I say all the time, we're peanut butter and jelly. That's because there's not, I know her probably almost as well as her spouse, and she knows me probably as well. So, we spend so much time together, and we work so well together. So I don't know that I would be where I am today had I not made that partnership 20 years ago with her. So
well, that's really nice to say, and good to hear.
It's very, 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 and people say, aren't you, why don't you join and be one? And we're like, this is working mighty fine right now. So let's just stick with this. And so she's a special part of my success.
Oh, that's really nice to hear.
Yeah.
And I like it from the, when the business owner sense too, that you're both supporting each other.
Sure.
And have that united front too.
Yeah.
And I know that you are huge on supporting young ladies who are coming up and figuring out what they want to do in their future. You've been part, oh my gosh, of the Mentor School System for so long, as far as the Business Advisory Committee, and always coaching and mentoring kids along the way.
You know what? I wouldn't have gotten where I am today. You've really got to depend on those people around you, whether it started at my mom, and I didn't realize what my mom was doing at that point, to the high school teachers that show you and move you along in that direction, to your college professors, to your peers. And if I had, what our school system offers today, with the mentorships and the shadowing and the encouragement to get out into the professional with the senior projects, it's hard. I can't say no. That's my biggest fault, is I can't say no. So when they do come calling, I love to sit and tell my story to young ladies or young men. I think our males are asking for some of the same things that we as females and moms have asked for. We have a lot more men and dads wanting time off and wanting to, spend that time with the children and put that family first, and that's wonderful. So I like to tell them my story and say that it can be done. And I worked for the big, back then, the Big 8 accounting firm, and had that experience right out of college, and it wasn't for me. I wanted to be close to home, and I grew up in Mentor, and I came home to Mentor, and that's where I put my roots in and started the business. So, and the Mentor community's been great, whether it be my friends, my family, my neighbors, teachers. I'm not out there to market myself and say I'm the best accountant, but I fill a niche, and those are the clients that have been with me for many, many years, because it's not a one and done, like come in and do the job and then they go find another accountant. We don't lose clients that way. We lose them because they merge with another company and go that route, or they pass away or something like that. But people aren't coming in for one and done and moving on.
Well, you guys have that personal touch.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and the staff is that way too. I mean, I expect my staff's been here for many years, and they're personally ingrained in these clients' lives too. So.
Oh, and when you come through the door, your staff's always so friendly. Whoever's sitting at the door, you can stand out there and have a 10-minute conversation before we even come back here to see you guys.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but
well, no, I think that says a lot. People feel comfortable as soon as they walk in the door.
Yeah.
So I think that says a lot about you and your practice. So
Thanks.
I think that's a very good thing.
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, you have two daughters.
Yeah.
And neither one of them want to be a CPA.
No, neither.
They both became teachers.
Now, I did have a math teacher. One of them is a math teacher. Was a math teacher, sorry. For 9 years, taught math in the Menor schools, and has recently relocated to the Columbus area. And she's teaching science now and having a blast with science. So I have to be happy for her from that standpoint. And the other one followed in Dad's footsteps and became a health and phys ed teacher. So both are coaches, both love being part of the school environment and teaching and coaching and developing those relationships. It's not a job to them. It's about being, and that's the cool thing that they learned, obviously, from my husband, who was a teacher and a coach.
Right.
So, but I take a little bit of credit for the one that has the math in her, but I think she's becoming a science. We converted her over to science.
Science
so.
part of it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, they're both down in Columbus now, and we have family down there and other friends, so I think they feel very comfortable heading down there and kind of putting their roots in somewhere else. Not that they were running from anything up here, but when it's hard, who Steve is, and
right. It's
they've always been Coach Triv's daughters.
Not only that, I mean, they have you here too.
Yeah.
And you guys have set a great example, so it's a lot to live up to. So
yeah.
they probably needed their own space,
they
right?
Want to create their own.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
So then, as far as what we've been talking to businesses about, that no succession plan then necessarily with family, but maybe that's sort of where Andrea comes in.
Our staff, yep. I think that's, and I mean, succession plan from a standpoint of, I'm an accountant. I should be telling my clients about this, and am I living by the rules that I'm teaching my clients? So that was Andrea's a little bit younger than me, so originally when we did this, we talked about that. So that's down the road, but I'm not ready to
You're not going anywhere yet. So, no, you're too young.
I would like to, and I've been very vocal with my clients in that, not be here every day sitting at my desk. And with the kids in Columbus, I think going back and forth is going to be the norm in a few years. But I can do so much more. I can still service them and take care of their needs without being here sitting at the desk every day. So, and my staff has been very supportive of that, whether it be Andrea picking up the top slack or my administrative staff picking up and having to do a little bit more for me because I'm not here. So.
Well, you have a good example to follow, because somebody that we both know very well, he worked with you back when you were at the other firm, and he's still doing it.
Yeah.
And on his own terms and his own time, and he's older.
Yeah.
But he hasn't given it completely up.
No, he hasn't.
And I don't think he ever will.
Yeah. And then you can only do that when you have that support staff around you. So you hold on to that person. That the relationship is with me, and that's who they want. Deep down, they want me to talk to them and touch their work, but the day-to-day busyness of it, and once I trust that my staff can do it accurately and is treating them appropriately, that's half the battle. So look forward to following and hopefully continuing those relationships. So
one of the things that you and I talked about, just like on a personal note, we were just talking one day, is the difference in the way you file now,
Mm-hmm.
because everything gets filed basically online,
Yeah.
and the fact that there are some people who probably could manage because the forms have changed so drastically and they
Right.
have been simplified and there's not as many deductions available as there used to be. So it's 6 lines and compared to 40
Right.
lines that
Right.
it might, but those clients still, they want to be
Yeah,
here with you.
It's hard to. I've tried to encourage some over the years to be like, you can do this. You can go online and do this. But that's where we go back to the relationship, where it's not just about getting your tax return done. It's about they're coming in here and we're connecting about how's the kids doing, or how are you feeling, and we've developed that relationship. That's our one time that we get together, whether it be on the phone, and as people have moved to other parts of the country, they still send me their information and I'm still their accountant.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing stops them from being able to serve them. So, but it's that having that relationship still that they want to come back and keep going. So I got to keep. I'm okay with that. Whether it's ease of filing, although I do try to encourage them to do more, and that's from a cost standpoint. I'm not here to bill and bill and bill and take their money from them. I'm always, you can do this. You can reconcile these bank statements on your own. Let me show you. Let me do this or do that. I don't want to have those hours on my shoulders. I don't need that. So if I can empower them and teach them, which there's that teacher in me, which my kids have always said, Mom, you're a teacher. I'm like, I'm not a teacher. And they're like, look at what you do every day. And when I sit down and I think about it, there is. I'm an accountant, but I'm teaching my clients. So.
And you're giving advice
Mm-hmm.
when they ask for advice, like we just talked about the succession planning. Your clients ask for that, so you're an advice giver as well.
Sure.
So,
but outside of that, I love what I do, and the task of sitting down and looking, whether it be a bookkeeping job or a tax return or a tax plan or a succession, talking about the next, or someone passes away and you've got to speak with the next generation, and we got to almost be like a forensic accountant and trying to find what did mom have and where is it, and one of the first things they go to is that tax return, because it can give you a map of the accounts that they have and the income sources that they have. So I love that stuff. That's like putting a puzzle together, playing a game, and not playing a game in that it's money and it's their real money, but putting those pieces together to get the answer, and that's.
have you ever had clients who found money in silly places? Like maybe their shoebox or something?
Did you?
No, but I tell my son all the time he should probably check when I die.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the older generations did a lot more. I mean, we're kind of, in that switch from even having cash around. So, but when I first got started, I think we saw that a lot more, that they had to go looking in the mattresses and that sort of a thing. But
yeah, I just wondered if you ever had anybody who came to you with a story telling you that, oh geez, I found money here, there, or somewhere.
But it's nice to sometimes see whatever situation. We had one client that came in that won a nice lottery prize, and dealing with that and how that changed their life. And, not a huge one, but enough that it changed their life, and that was fun to kind of be part of. And now they're living off the income from it, and that's.
So your advice was in helping what they could do tax wise and how it could most benefit them.
Well, but they were smart people and listened to that. They realized that. So some would probably have spent it, but it's made their life better by just keeping that principal in the bank and living off of it. So that's fun, something different.
Something very positive, right?
Yeah.
Instead of, you owe the IRS $50,000.
Well, they owed them, and they had to do that. But that's probably the hardest thing, is coming to that conclusion with people and dealing with that. And we just went through a final due date.
When somebody owes you.
Yeah, on October 15th. And everybody who we're working on October 15th, many of them, they don't want that tax return done. They know they probably owe money, and that's why they're on extension and they're not giving us the information. It's a hard time of year. around here because we're pulling that and we're giving them bad news. And Andrea and I, we take that on our shoulders. I mean, not that I didn't put you in this position, but I feel bad that I'm having to bring this news to you and tell you this. And it's hard. It's hard to give them, then let's talk options. You know, how can we work with the tax agency? What can we do? How can we prevent this from happening in the future? And no matter how much we do, sometimes they just can't follow those recommendations for whatever reason. So we're in the same problem next year too. But I don't know how. You know, somehow that's a burden sometimes. To one negative of the job is to taxes. You know, people, they sit in these seats and they talk. They get political, and I'm always like, stop. We're not allowed to talk politics. You know. Just stop right there and let's embrace what we have to deal with today with the Tax Act. It might not be there 5 years from now, so all we can do is deal with what we know today and make the best of it. So
you bring up a good point because the tax laws are constantly changing.
So
how do you keep up with that?
Well, we're required to keep up with that to keep our license. So, you know, CPE, which again, even that's gone more electronic. We used to go away for a day and sit at a seminar in a hotel room and listen to people talk, and now we're doing webinars and doing self-study online and that sort of a thing. So we did a lot last year with the new Tax Act, and this year it's kind of like a little more calm, but yet a lot still needs to be changed. They need to make some improvements or corrections, but they're not doing very much in that regards because of everything else going on in the political environment today. So, but we just sit tight. I cannot worry about what's going to happen next year. We've got to follow, and we're always telling our clients, this is what we know today. We can't worry about what they might do down the road until it's passed, and then we'll deal with it.
You belong to a professional organization for CPAs, correct?
There's great professional organizations. So we have an Ohio Society of CPAs that I've depended on a lot with supporting my speaking arrangements with the schools, and that they provide publications and support for that. That's where we get all of our CPA. And then there's the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants that backs them up also. So we have a great, from what I've heard, I didn't realize that every profession didn't have that, but we have a great professional association to fall back on whenever we have a question, to give them a phone call and get support from them.
I know when you've participated in some of the career expos, they always send you like really great information too to have on your table for students.
That's what makes it easy for me to talk about the profession and why I like to do that, because you know, we're recruiting. You know, we're out there saying become an accountant, and this is what you can, whether you're a tax accountant or you're working for a nonprofit or you're working for a big corporation. Every business needs an accountant. And you can take your passion, if your passion is sports or your passion is movies, and become an accountant for that type of a company. And now you're mixing, you know, your fun with your career of accounting. So you just have to find that right fit.
You know, we have so many businesses here in our own community that need workers. You know, whether it's McDonald's or some of our bigger manufacturing, you know, is service, retail. Everybody, everywhere you go around here, there's signs for hire. So how are you guys doing in the industry? Is that still a need? Is that something that kids still should be looking, you know, to major in, or is that,
I just read an article yesterday. I wish I would have known you were going to ask that question.
Well, it just came to me. Just came to me.
What it said. But there was something about, you know, they talking to the HR people as far as the finance, accounting and finance, and the need. There's a backlog in need. So there's positions out there that aren't getting filled because the supply is down, the demand is high, and the supply is down. So it's a great time to be an accountant and to be a CPA, again, whether you're in industry or you're working for an accounting firm or doing your own thing. So you don't come out of college with an accounting degree today and not be able to find a job. And that wasn't the case, you know, 20 years ago.
Did you have a hard time finding a job?
I did not have a hard time finding a job. I interviewed I wanted to go into public accounting, so back then we had the Big Eight. Fortunately, because we live near a big city of Cleveland, all of those firms came to Bowling Green to interview, and I had the opportunity to kind of pick where I wanted to go. So
That's wonderful.
I went with one of the smaller ones. I'm that smaller brain person I don't need to be, big and the best. So I went with Coopers and Lybrand back then, which is now PricewaterhouseCoopers, and that experience, I was there for 3 years, and that was a stepping stone to turn me into the person I am today because of what they taught me, even on a bigger sense. So I didn't have it, but I know there was a time that the job market wasn't there for necessarily kids coming out of college, and I know in the finance accounting area now that's not an issue.
Yeah, so you guys are in the same boat as every other
absolutely
industry now, so it's the same thing. That's
and trying
good,
to get flex, I think that's what I've found over the years. Most of my employees want flex time and around their kids and this and that, so I've been very open,
which you've established that you did have, and
right.
that's
what I wanted,
right?
So that's why I did what I did, and I promote that with my staff to don't miss those games after school, or if you want to leave work to do a party in the middle of the day, absolutely. We've talked about that that's not something I want them to be here from and miss those opportunities.
Well, that's great, and that's great to hear from an employer side that you're willing to do that. And I think more and more companies are doing that, and I think that's wonderful. I don't think it was like that back when we all first started, and it wasn't like that at all.
No.
So, but it's become more family friendly, like you mentioned. So I think that's a great thing, and I'm glad that you live by that practice.
Yes.
So that's wonderful to hear. Well, again, Pam, thank you so much for being with us today.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for being a chamber member. We're so proud of you.
Yes, thank you.
So
I'm so proud to be here. And
you've
to be
been
a part
great
of the community
cheerleader for our community, for the chamber, for everything that you do.
Yeah.
And like I said, I know Pam personally, so I know all that she's done and what a wonderful woman she really is. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks.